All right, I have a student that's we're writing a song, we're co-writing a song. We do this with second year students, where they take all the theory and stuff that they've learned and then they have to actually make a song, we'll arrange it and stuff like that. And we're talking about bridges. A lot of people get an idea for a hook or a groove or a lyric or something like that, and they write the beginning of the song, but then they don't know how to write a bridge if they're doing song form, or they're not sure what a pre-chorus is. These are all transitional sections that want to move from one place to another. And so what I thought I'd do today, just really briefly, it's going to be a short video, we're going to look at 3 different bridges that are related to each other in a way from 3 different jazz standards. So the first one is Oleo, which is on something called The Changes, which is standard for a number of other tunes. Like if you look up The Changes, you'll find a bunch of songs are just built over top of these chord progressions. And so in this case, you get to the bridge, and this is standard for The Changes. Remember, this would be like a 32 bar form, 8 bars, and then do it again. So A, and then the B, which is the bridge, and then A is repeated at the end there. And the bridge is a circle of fifths. And so remember, if the goal of the bridge is to give us a break from the A section and also to feel like it's traveling, starting away and then coming back. Yeah, and so so it goes D7, G7, C7, and F7. That's the circle of fifths. This is in the key of B flat, and so I just want to start with that. I'll just write it out here. I'm here, and I'm in the key of B flat major, right? Then a D7 is like a 3 chord, right? If you think about your scale, right? But it's been turned into a dominant chord, so it has maximum push. Instead of this, it's this. Maximum push to the next chord. And so the next chord is down a fifth, and that's 6, which is G. And again, it's been turned into a dominant of the next one right there. And G would go down a fifth, so this is 3, 6, 6 goes to 2, right? So there, and that's been turned into a dominant of the 5, when there's my 5, 7 right there, and then it kicks back out. And it's an 8 measure bridge, which matches the other sections. Now, the only thing that's different about this is that it's not really a 3, it's been turned into a 5 of the 6 chord, right? And then when it arrives there, it's not a 6 chord, it's been turned into the 5 of the 2 chord. And then when you get to the 2 chord, it's not 2 chord, it's the 5 of the 5 chord. And this is pretty standard. So, Oleo is in B flat, where, we're like this. And so you get to the end of the bridge here, and it's like B flat major to a G7, and then back to the B flat major, right? And then it kicks into the bridge and jumps from tonic to the 3 chord set up as a dominant. And so you can just hear it go from there to like and a lot of times in these particular songs, they don't even write a melody. Like you can see here, it says improvised melody. Somebody in the group, if it's a combo, just takes off and improvises over the circle of fifths. Okay? That's The Changes. It's pretty standard. Now, I did another video recently about another jazz standard called I'm Beginning to See the Light. And it has another 8-bar bridge. And although you can see the entire thing if you look that up, I want to talk about this one. So this is in the key of C. I know it starts on a D chord, but this is like a 5 of 5, 5, and then 1, right? 6. And it's not The Changes, but it has an AABA form. It does the A section twice, and then it does a B section, which is also 8 measures long. And then it goes back and does the beginning again, right? And so I'm in the key of C right here, in C major. And we can see that the bridge starts off, it goes E, and then E flat 7, and then D, and then there's like a crazy A flat 7 over here before it goes to a G chord, right? So I've written them out right here so we can see it. So this is my 3 chord right there, right? And this is like my flat 3 chord right there, and this is my D is my 2 chord, and this is flat 6. It's kind of weird, and this is my 5, albeit with 9s and 13s and stuff like that. And instead of going to a 1 chord right here, it does the 2, 5 again. Okay, so how is this a circle of fifths? Well, it's just modified, but it's the same. So first off, this 3 has been turned into the 5 of A, right? Should be going to A. That would be my 6 right there, because it's been turned into a 5 chord of 6 right there, okay? And if we look here, this is sort of the same. D7 in the key of C is not a 2 chord, it's the 5 of 5, and there's my 5 coming up over there, okay? So let's talk about and deal with these 2 chords right here real quick. It has to do with something called tritone substitution, which is this. Instead of a 5 chord for the next chord, that's like a dominant, right? This should be A7 going to the D7, right? In this key, 6 chord, this should be A7 if we made it the 5, 7 of 2, right? Same idea, exactly same spacing and everything. But instead of this, you may use another dominant 7 chord that is a tritone, which means 3 tones or whole steps away. Tritone substitution, right? Substitute. And the reason is, and I've talked about this in other videos, but you know, so you don't have to go looking. If you look at this A7 that we should be going to, that's A, C sharp, E, and G. And these are the 2 important notes right there, the C sharp and the G right there, which push us into the D and the F sharp there. And so it should go from the E7, and those 2 notes are pulling into the A7. And then these 2 notes right here, the C sharp and the G, should pull us to the next chord, okay? But if we build the E flat 7 chord, E flat, G, B flat, and D flat, these 2 are the same notes as that. I know that one's called C sharp and D flat, and they're in swapped position, but they do the same thing. So this is my 3, which is my 5 of 6, starting the same thing as Oleo, different keys, but still. Right? And instead of going to the 6 chord, which is turned into the 5 of the 5, right? Okay, or 5 of 2, sorry. That it says, instead of that, we'll use its tritone substitute, right? And make that an E flat 7 chord. It's just doing the same thing. It has flavor notes that are different though, right? This is grindier than this one, but it's the same tritone substitute for that, which then goes to my 2 chord, which is changed into a 5 of 5, which is going to my 5 right there. So what about this flat 6 right there? It's the same deal. If I said, instead of arriving right on there on the 5 chord, they say, wait, put on the brakes here. Let's use this A flat 7 chord, which is, spell the D chord out, D, F sharp, A, C, right there. Those are my 2 notes that push me into my G chord, right? We build our A flat 7 chord, A flat, C, E flat, and G flat. These 2 notes, F sharp is the same as G and C is the same as C. That's the tritone substitute for this. So you don't arrive right on the 5 chord in the same place. It's pushed back a little bit, and they give us the tritone substitute for D7, which is my 5 of 5, right? And then these here are just extensions. They just make it crunchier. So this one does not go, if it was the same, it would be 5 of 3, 5 of 6, right? Going to the 5 of 2, going to my 5 of 5, which would then go to my 5, just like this. But instead, they go 3 chord dressed up as a 5 of 6, and then we do tritone substitute, right? And then we do down the half step because it's the tritone substitute instead of that. And instead of going straight to the G chord, it says, haha, let's give you another tritone substitute right there. And then when we do get to the 5 chord at the end, they give us these ones with these great extensions. And so we get something that's something more like this, right? And then when you flip down into the G13, it's more like this, right? The big beefy sound, but it's still a 5 chord. So it's the circle of fifths with a couple bonus things, modifications. Makes it very cool. All right, now let's take a look at Take 5, which is one of the most famous jazz pieces of all time because it's in 5 and it's also just really cool. Let's see, there it is right there. All right, so apart from it being in 5, right, and by the way, it's 3 plus 2. 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. It's not grouped like 2 plus 2 plus 1 or 2 plus 3. It's grouped 3, 2. That's neither here nor there to the form, but you know, 5s are compound meters that need to be broken down to, or complex meters, that need to be broken down into those subdivisions. Before we jump into the bridge immediately on this, I just want to point out that this is an E flat minor, and then it's got a B flat minor 7 for its 5 chord. We call this modal jazz, which doesn't mean you're always in the same mode, but what it means is sometimes you alter the quality of the chords so that they have a certain flavor, although the other kind of modal is true too. So instead of going 1 minor to dominant 5, he's kept it to be a minor 5 here to get this different sound, right? So it's like, you know, oh, we're in a different key. And that gives us our blues scale flat 3 by keeping this a minor 1 right there, right? Which is fine. And that's important because some of the chords in the bridge down here have, like they're in the minor 7, the minor kind of feel about them, again, to support that kind of feel that he has there. So we look at this, it's going to go C major 7. This is our bridge. We had, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 again, right? But then it's just going to go straight into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 measure bridge. Okay, it doesn't do the A twice though, it just does it once, okay? And for all it being different in 5 and being modal and things like that, it's still got an 8 measure bridge and it's still going to do a circle of fifths, although his is going to be a little different. Okay, so let's take a look at this. First off, we were in the key of E flat minor and it goes to C flat major. Well, that's my 6th chord right there. Okay, so that's my 6. And I know this isn't the right quality yet. We'll get to that in a second. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll just do this right to begin with. It's 6 because in minor it's 6, okay? And then we'll talk about this for a second, but B flat would be my 5, right? But it's a minor 5, right? So again, the chord qualities are a little funny because, and then this would be my 1 chord right there, right? 1 minor 7. And this would be my 4 chord, right? Minor 7, and that's all good. And then this is interesting because this is my relative major, right? Relative major right there. So it's my 3 major 7, but in truth, you could think of this whole thing as moved to relative major. Like we could reset all these chords to be in the key of G flat. This would be 4, right? This would be 3, this would be 6, and this would be 2 and 5 and 1. And that's kind of the way we want to think of them, right? That would make sense given that this is a dominant chord pushing us into here like that. So, you know, we can call them back there and call this subtonic 7 in the other key, but we can also go back and say in the key of G major, right? I just wanted to show that the starting place is still like, you know, in a similar way. It's pushed off a third away, although in the other direction. So it's circle of fifths though. Let's talk about that for a second right there. A flat minor 6. Sometimes jazz charts will do this. This might be an easier chord to play or conceive of, but it's still circle of fifths, and let me explain why. This is spelled A flat, C flat, right? And then E flat, and then F, right? And you might go like, well, that's just it's a A minor chord with a 6 on top. But if we respell this out, then wouldn't that be F, A flat, C flat, E flat, which is like an F half diminished chord, which in the key of E flat minor would be my 2 half diminished 7. And that's kind of the reason why I wanted to show you that you can think of this in both. But first off, we think of it in the key of E flat minor, 6, 2, 5, 1, 4, subtonic 7, 3. But at the same time, it's switching to G flat major, and that's why this bridge opens up and sounds so cool and different, right? So you can think of it like that. And the difference here is between the other ones is it's using the modal 5, right? It's in a minor key and it starts on 6 rather than on 3, but it's still going around the circle of fifths to get us to, in this case, the relative major, right? And the chords go by twice as fast, right? Which allows us to do it again. This is exactly the same. It's like 6, this is my F half diminished chord right here. So 2, modal 5, 1, 4, subtonic 7. And then instead of going into the 3, this time he knows we're going back to E flat minor, and so he subs out instead of the 3, finishing that off there. Or if you want to think of it as the 1, the relative major, right? Either way, he says, no, we're going back into the head again, and so he gives us a 2, 5 into there. And it's not even modal, it's just like, it's 2, 5, and then back to there. That's kind of low. Sorry, it's hard to hear. Right? And then, right? And just kicks us back into there and does it all over again. So these are in some ways just progressions of each other. The most standard sort of song form bridge that you can get is a circle of fifths, and it's very common for them to not use the ones that are diatonic or in the key, but change the quality to all dominants to push, or sometimes they'll go dominant, normal kind of thing. It can be a mix or match. And then you get hybrids of this where you use like tritone substitutes or extensions and things to make them bigger. And then that gives birth to things like this where you can say circle of fifths, but in this case, let's go twice as fast. And since we have a different target we're aiming for, instead of the 5 chord to bring us back to the original key, it's going to go relative major. We're in the minor. You can go around circle of fifths like this. And, you know, a couple other cool things like that can be interpolated from that right there. And since it's twice as fast, you can do it twice, right? So even though it doesn't feel like this is, it's not AABA per se, this is longer, even though it's 8 measures, because it's got 5 beats. So it feels like there's more episodes of things going on here. And then the bridge going by twice in the same progression twice makes that feel kind of twice as long. So it doesn't really need that extra A section. It would feel redundant in some kind of ways. Anyhow, let's just review one more time. Bridges, they separate the A sections from its repeats. They generally tend to travel, which means you have to crank them up to someplace not in the tonic, and then eventually get back to the dominant so that we can catapult ourselves back to our tonic from the original thing. And they tend to travel, and one of the best ways to do that is some kind of circle of fifths, okay? Some kind of circle of fifths. So you should experiment with that. Just like we talked about with Oleo, how there's a bunch of songs like Scrapple the Apple and a bunch of other things that are just literally new tunes written on these chords for the whole song. If you are starting to write a song for the first time, a jazz chart or anything like that, doesn't have to be in that, you know, genre, you should consider doing that. Like, just erase the notes. You can change the key or change the meter or something like that, but you know, the great singer, Americana songwriter Tom Waits, maybe my favorite songwriter and musician. You know, I saw an interview with him, and they said, "How do you know how to write all these songs?" And he said, "You know, songs are just like Jello molds, right? If it's a rumba or a tango or a waltz or this or that or any kind of pop song or this, you know, like old bluegrass songs and things, you just empty them out and you fill them up with new Jello." Right? They have a form, they have chord progressions they like, they have a shape. And then he says that allows you to have something that works, that's something that makes a lot of sense underneath, and then you can focus on the other parts of the song to make that really great. And after you've done 2 or 3 of them, you start to feel pretty comfortable making your own customizations. All right, that's it for this. Hope that was useful and interesting, and you know, helps inspire you to go out and make some of your own music.